Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Courageous Curiosity podcast. I'm Ben Mainka, Superintendent for the Novi Community School District. Thank you all for tuning in again for a great episode. Today, we have an incredible lineup of people who work with our kids in this school district every day and our staff, but we're also joined by somebody that we're really excited to learn a lot from related to some key initiatives in our district. So I'm going to start by just saying that this year, we have embarked on a bit of a journey, and it is going to be a journey. It's going to take a little bit of time, but we have started this process of exploring what are we doing for social emotional learning? What are we doing to help kids understand who they are as people and how they're kind of designed in their character and all of those types of things. And we've really selected this incredible program called the Positivity Project, and we're here with Dominic today, who's an executive from P2, and he's going to share a lot more about that as we get into this. But I guess the real curiosity question for today is, why are programs like Positivity Project important, and why would the district be investing so much time, energy, resources in such a program? And I think for all of us in our own unique way in this room, we're going to have different answers to that. And so I'm really excited to get into the dialogue and talk about what Positivity Project is, why it's important for kids, and why this is a great opportunity for Novi students and helping them grow into happy, healthy young people and young adults. So with that, we have incredible staff. Lots to learn from today. So Sarah Lephart, I'm going to start with you. You are somebody who's had a lot of different hats that you wear in the district. So why don't you start by sharing a little bit about yourself and kind of how you enter this space?
All right, so my name is Sarah Lephart. I am an assistant principal here at the high school. I also am a parent in the district. I currently have an 8th grader and a senior and a daughter that graduated in 2022. I also help to serve on the Novi Mental Health Alliance, which is an organization that helps to bring opportunities for the community to come together to learn more about how to support our students and our community in mental health and wellness.
Yeah, you've been doing this for a while, and I think your background as a school guidance counselor for a long time, you've seen a lot in this role, and so we're super grateful to have you not only as a incredible staff member and somebody who's supported these types of initiatives for a long time, but also as a parent. So grateful to have you on the show. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. All right, Dominic, give us your elevator pitch.
30 seconds or less.
Well, you can spend maybe 45.
Okay. Thanks for laying that out for me. So glad to be here today. Like you said, I'm with the Positivity Project, father of 2, right?
Wow.
First and foremost, which is wonderful. Coming here from New York State today, and I couldn't be happier to be here, with this partnership with the Positivity Project. It's tremendously important that we get out and we work with our partners on this. Like you mentioned, we go slow to go fast, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the big picture on this is we're looking at long-term student growth, and when we drill down into those character strengths, what we realize, it's really a strength-based approach. Our kids have so many tremendous things that are very unique to them, but leaning forward into that growth, we also have to acknowledge that there's space to grow, right?
Mm-hmm.
And understanding those 24 character strengths, how we get there and what we do together, that's the beauty of the work that we can do together, and we're really excited to do that.
Yeah, and we're just so grateful to have you here in the district to not only talk to our families and our staff, but to help us just better understand the underpinnings of this work. And we're excited for this show today to learn more. So thank you for being with us.
My pleasure.
So, all right, Rosalie Johnson.
Hi, yes, Rosalie Johnson. My role here in Novi is as Director of Mental Health and Wellness. I'm also a parent. I have a 6-year-old and a 1.5-year-old. So this work has impacted me as an educator, formerly a teacher and a principal, and really have seen the benefit of focusing on character and instilling skills and strategies for our students to understand their emotions and how to regulate their emotions and how to see good in others, how to see good in themselves. So really excited that as a district we're prioritizing this work, and excited to be here talking about it today.
Yeah, and thank you for being such a champion for this. In so many ways, I know you spend a lot of time working on how to help our staff, but also our children in these ways, and you're going to be invaluable in this conversation. So thank you. All right, Mr. Michalski.
Tom Michalski, been with Novi Community School District for over 20 years now, primarily 5th and 6th grade math and science. Recently moved into the robotics instructor role, which is absolutely amazing.
I mean, after that long, there has to be an interesting shift for you.
It was a challenge that at first I wasn't sure if I made the right decision, but boy, oh boy, am I so happy that I did.
Oh, that's awesome.
I am so excited.
I love
It's absolutely wonderful. Father of two boys, 10-year-old and a 12-year-old, both of which are the life of the party on the outside, but inside they are deeply empathetic, and I hear stories from their school, and they share how that affects them. And so I'm really excited that Novi Community Schools is going this route with putting resources into the Positivity Project.
I love it. And I'm glad to hear you being on the show, because I know that you've been one of the kind of early adopters and somebody who's kind of running ahead with some of this work. So I know we're going to talk about that today. So thank you for being here as well. We'll start kind of ground the conversation a little bit for people that are watching the show, or for somebody that would be asking. Dominic, if you could give us a little bit of an understanding of what the Positivity Project is, maybe, a little bit of its origin story, but, how does Positivity Project come into a space where schools where does it intersect with schools and how we work with students?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think our growth has been really organic and natural, right? So 2016, we were starting with just one school, right? And when you look at the research, just starting with what positive psychology is, it's a massive field, but fundamentally it's the study of what makes life meaningful, what brings us happiness, right? And when you dabble into that research and you start to pick that apart, what we find is there are 24 character strengths that exist in all people across all walks of life. Mm-hmm. And although we have different personality profiles, different character profiles, there's a lot that makes us very similar, and there's a lot of intersection points. And it really, when we talk about, character and relationships and the fundamental elements of schools, that pairing is really natural, right? We know that strong climate, strong culture, strong relationships in schools are really the plate that everything sits on, right? So in looking at kind of the background of Positivity Project, it started in central New York in just one school, Morgan Road, and it started sort of caught wildfire, right? So a lot of individuals were wondering exactly, how do we infuse this in our school? What do we do? And that's really when this started to take off. Our mission and vision is to empower America's youth to form meaningful relationships, and the way that we do that is strategy, training, and resources. But a lot of that is the work of educators, partnering with educators, and essentially planning, how do we roll this out? What do we do? How do we directly have that impact? And that's where those curricular pieces come in and where those relationships come in. So today, we're in about 800 schools and districts nationwide across 23 different states, and it's created this great melting pot where we have all types of different schools, public, private, urban, rural, suburban, collectively working on this together. And that engagement and discussion and collaboration has continued to scale our work and perpetuate what we're doing, and it's really helped it take off. And now we're in a position where we can study those results, and the findings are incredibly promising in regard to student-to-student connection, student-to-staff connection, and now we're looking to extend that work and really make that a collective community effort where we're getting parents on board and we're engaging in that way, and that's incredibly important, because it takes a whole team to make sure our kids are successful.
Yeah, I know we're going to drill down more into that, and it's so helpful to kind of have you center us around where this kind of has started. But I think for a long time, and this can be a question for anybody to answer, but I've been in education for a long time, and I think we see things come in cycles, but there have been moments where I think most people have just kind of assumed, hey, school's job is essentially to take care of kids' ability to learn how to read and do math. And pretty much outside of that, that's just the parents' responsibility. And I think we've learned that in order for them to do math and to do reading and to do all of the things that they need to do to excel academically, it's so much more complex, right? There's so much more to that. So why is a program like this, or one that focuses on the whole child, so important for a school district to focus on?
So I love what you said there. And I was actually having some conversation with Sarah before we came in here today, just about how when we think about our role as educators and educating the whole child, and we think about reading, a student struggling to read, we intervene, we help them read. If they're struggling with math, we intervene, we help them do math. If they are struggling with behavior, we often either get dysregulated ourselves as the adult and we get frustrated. We might even shame that student. We assume that they know how to be better or what to do differently, and maybe issue a consequence. And so I think what's so wonderful about the Positivity Project is it really is a program that helps give us the language and the tools and the strategies to empower our students. It gives adults the language to help reframe our conversations with kids. So we can help them understand, okay, you just shared that joke in the middle of class and it had an impact on someone else, but actually you're using your character strength of humor. And that's not a bad thing. Like, humor is a great strength to have. It brings joy to a lot of situations. People like to be around you when you're funny. And there's a right way to use your humor and a right time. And so helping students develop that, and us as adults developing that. I think our character is ever evolving. And so that's what I love about the Positivity Project thus far, is it really helps us teach that skill, which we have the responsibility to do as whole educators.
So what you're saying is, obviously, this is going to give our staff and all of us as educators tools to give kids tools to manage their, emotions and all those things. But I also heard you talk a little bit about these character strengths, and we talk a lot about personalization and kids knowing who they are. These character strengths, these 24 traits of positive psychology, they exist in all of us, right? So, I think one of the things schools have not done a great job at historically is helping kids understand who they are. And maybe in that example, the kid didn't even realize, I didn't know I had a strength of being humorous. I mean, a lot of kids are really funny, but they may not know that that's actually, one of those kind of virtuous character strengths. And if you take a strength-based approach, I mean, there's a ton of research about how much more impactful that is, other than, you did this, here's the consequence, right? So, Sarah, I know as a parent and as somebody who has worked in the district for a while, it's probably, when you hear these types of things, it's kind of like, we've been trying to talk about that with kids for a while. So how does this come to you as a parent? Like, do you think this is a valuable piece for us to really be investing in?
Yeah, so one thing I really like about this program is that, as Rosalie mentioned, having that common language when we are identifying our character strengths, areas that we need to have growth in, having vocabulary that we're using at home, at school, with our teachers, with our friends, I think that really helps to solidify that with kids and helps them to identify it more in themselves. So that's something that I think as parents, when we are having those communications about what's going on in the classroom, what's being communicated with our kids, we can build that with, dinner, talking about at the dinner table or going to a sporting event. I just think about, as a parent, if my child is at a sporting event and they have tried their best and the outcome isn't exactly as they planned, talking about being courageous, about going out and doing it again, the bravery. So having some of that common language to be able to encourage them and to build on that really, I think, bridges the gap between home and school and just helps to really build good community to support all our kids.
Yeah, I like what you said there about community and the application at home, because one of the things we've talked a lot about is, how do parents get involved, right? I mean, it's one thing for the school to roll out a program and for the teachers to use these strategies and skills, but if they never hear that reinforced at home, we know how that, can be a challenge. So I don't know, Dominic, if you can explain a little bit about how maybe parents can get involved with the Positivity Project from the standpoint of, okay, the school's going to roll these things out. As Sarah's mentioning, they're going to be giving kids these, kind of this bridge. But how did the parents actually get into the meat and potatoes of this?
Yeah, absolutely. So the beauty of this, we work off of a constructed calendar that's really a gradual release of responsibility in terms of interpreting the character strengths. So we're covering a new character strength every week. We also have 5 other people mindset. elements that are embedded. Alongside that, we have a parent element, which is a free resource. It's open to anyone in the public, P2 for Families. And what that follows is a 1-to-1-to-3 model. So, if you're covering the character strength of bravery in school, you have access to the same resource at home. And that model with the 1-to-1-to-3, there's one quote, there's one question, one video, and 3 questions associated with it. And that's really a bridge for discussion around that character strength. And the nice thing about this, it's available, on your phone, if you're on the move, if you have kids like I do and they're busy and you're in the car. I'm not saying watch the video in the car when you're driving.
While you're driving, it's good.
Maybe don't do that. But, the reality is we're all on the move. All of our kids have activities, but it allows that bridge between home and school in a really low impact, meaningful way. And you can start to have those conversations and engage that way. And what we find, and I see this firsthand, as a parent, we find that we're now using that common vocabulary with the school as we're providing feedback, as we're asking questions. And I don't know about you all, if I ask what happened in school most of the time or how was your day, I get a good, right? But when I'm grounding the conversation and I'm steering that back in the process, I'm also learning a little bit about that profile of my daughter, that profile of my son. We also have character strength snapshot surveys. They can be done in school. They can be done at home. It doesn't collect any student data, but what it will do is give you that breakdown of the 24 character strengths where your child might be growing and might be developing or where they're the strongest. And that awareness is tremendously important as you're engaging with your kids.
Yeah, and the other thing that you said there that was a bit nuanced, but I don't want to lose sight of it, and I want to drive that point home. So many of the times that I think parents try to have conversation with their kids, it's it was good, or how was practice, or how was the musical, or what. Like, you have to be able. A lot of times, I think parents are looking for, how do I have meaningful dialogue with my kids about stuff that's different than just the weather, like. I want to get to know them as people, right?
Those can be hard conversations even for adults. If you ask me how my day was, right, it's tremendously open-ended. This helps narrow the conversation and grounds it in a way that can be predictable, right? And the nice thing about this, just like the predictability of, the understand, engage, reflect structure that we use with our daily lessons inside of school, you have a predictable structure at home so that you can have that conversation. By the 3rd week in a row, this starts to become familiar. There's a deeper exchange of dialogue, and you can also draw on the former conversations that you've had. And again, it's very enlightening as we learn about our kids and as they're learning about themselves, right? And you can, provide feedback around stretching them around a character strength. You can reference that, and what we find is that those conversations start to extend past that 10 minutes. We pick up 5 more minutes over here. We pick up time on the way to school, and it really reframes the way that we're engaging with our kids in the process.
Yeah, I think it's a brilliant approach, and if we can not lose sight of how important the home-school connection is, which I know Positivity Project is clearly focused on, I think it's a tremendous resource. I want to, Tom, shift a little bit towards you're a teacher in a classroom. This year was a very low, soft start. It's kind of like, hey, guys, going to give you the resources, going to put those in front of you. It's really kind of your choice on kind of how you're engaging with the resources in this first year. Tell us a little bit about your experience, what you're excited about, what you've seen with kids, what's working well. Kind of describe it from the teacher lens.
Yeah, I'm really excited about where we're going with Positivity Project. Robotics is such a collaborative environment. And so I need the kids to be able to work together. And Novi is a wonderful community with wonderful families and wonderful kids. But inevitably, you're going to have kids that have conflict. And in general, we probably think that we all are thinking the same way and the same thing. And we all have the same strengths and weaknesses. And what Positivity Project does is not only teaches the individual about their character strengths, but makes them stop and pause and realize, well, maybe so-and-so that I'm having the disagreement with doesn't have the same perspective that I do because their character strengths are a little bit different. And so that's the point that I'm trying to drive across when I'm teaching Positivity Project. Not only am I trying to enhance their 24 character strengths, but help them realize, hey, your partners think differently than you do. And I go as far as telling them, look, I'm standing up here and I'm not perfect. When I'm talking about self-control or optimism, I'm not perfect. I have things that are weaknesses too. I'm not preaching to you. I'm just trying to make you aware of this so that we can have, like you said, learning about each other.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's so awesome to hear about what you're describing. And I know that Positivity Project has one of their core foundational tenets of their beliefs, right? And Rosalie, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's this other people matter mindset, right? So when you describe your students are actually thinking about how other people's strengths might manifest, that is a incredible skill that adults don't have. Like literally adults right now don't have it. And that's why I think the kids, they're looking to us and they're seeing social media, TV, all these things. And so to have this other place where they can start to learn about other people and that be the focus, I think it's so important in a society where we're so much about ourselves and it's about the individual instead of really thinking about how our actions and behaviors intersect with other people. Tell us a little bit about the resources. Like, how easy or hard or cumbersome is it for you to be able to work with kids in this space with the Positivity Project?
The Positivity Project has done a wonderful job of putting resources together. There's everything from the morning announcements to the general classroom to running small groups for intervention. And what I've done this year is I've purposely come each day to school without prepping. I want to be able to open up that PowerPoint. What are we doing today? Oh, okay, I think I could do that. And admittedly, I have 5 different classes throughout the day, and so I get better throughout the day, but it takes very little planning on the part of the teacher. It is so easy to implement, and it's really about just having conversations with kids. And the kids want to share. The kids want to be involved in those conversations.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I don't know, Rosalie, if you can explain a little bit about our rollout process. This year, as we've already kind of stated, teachers have access to the resources. It's not really been something that's been a hard push. Can you talk a little bit about how you see this rolling out over the next year or 2 or 3 years?
Yeah, so I think that we've been cognizant about all of the different wonderful things happening in Novi, and there are a lot of initiatives happening. And at the same time, we know there are teachers who have said, like, we're ready. We need resources. And so this has been, as we've mentioned, a soft rollout. The resources have been accessible. We've had some individuals like Tom who have been what we would consider early adopters who have really jumped in and they're excited about it at the high school level, and I think at the middle school level a little bit too. Sarah's done a great job of integrating some of these resources into advisory. We're starting to get the resources just in front of staff. So several different staffs have taken the VIA Character Strength Survey, and they've started to have conversations just as colleagues about what our individual character strengths are and, what maybe some of my lesser strengths are and how I can work with you to develop them. So lots of conversation, I think, happening at the staff level right now. Resources are available to parents, and moving forward, this is really something we want to be part of our everyday curriculum. We are committed, I think, as a district to figuring out the best way to support what currently is happening in buildings. We have some great PBIS programs that are already in existence, and so P2 is intended to bolster those, not replace. And so having those conversations with admin teams and teacher teams about how we can really align our resources, make it as seamless and user-friendly as possible, because we know there's a lot that happens in that instructional day. But the goal, the vision, and I think the beauty of having this district partnership is when you start to think about 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, think about the impact when our kids have had this repetitive exposure to this common vocabulary, to the pillars of the other people matter mindset. I mean, we are truly preparing our students for to be good humans, right? Like not just to be good at math or good at reading and college bound, but these are skills that will be used for their entire lifetime. And so I kind of diverted on your question a little bit, but
no, it was great. And I want to piggyback off something you said, but, just kind of as we think about, this entire process, we and I'm going to take this in a slightly different angle because I want to hear each of your perspectives on this. We talk about the advent of artificial intelligence. We talk about the advent of new technology. And I think one of the questions that we need to continually ask is, what are the skills that employers are actually looking for? And I think a lot of things that are going to be automated are going to be able to be done by machines, computers, all of those types of things. And so we talk a lot about durable skills. We have what's called a profile of a graduate in our district, which are kind of listing out these what we would consider durable skills. It's being an empathetic collaborator, a creative problem solver, right? Like understanding how to persevere, understanding what to do when I come up with a complex problem. These are things that human beings can always do better than machines. And even though machines can do things that we never thought possible, there is a uniquely human skill set that this program is trying to provide. And so as we think about our profile, as we think about Positivity Project in general and the investment in this space, how can it help build those durable skills, build those skills that are actually the things that employers are going to be looking for? I mean, we used to be in an economy where I wanted somebody who could compute things, or I wanted somebody who could write things, or I wanted somebody who could do these tasks. But so much of our economy and our work is going to shift. And although these durable skills have been important for a long time, I think they're even more important now. So how does that help? How does Positivity Project help us in that endeavor?
So I'm glad you tackled that. And it's funny because we've been having these conversations on Loop, and it's a great discussion to have because ultimately the world is changing and we need to be prepared for that. The reality here is we need kids that are resilient, right? Although we're the Positivity Project, we lean in on adversity, we lean in on life's negative. It exists, right? That's the reality. When you think about these skills, these character strengths that you're cultivating, we're preparing kids for changes all the time and how they'll utilize their character and how they'll be agile in those situations. And when we talk about ability versus agility, that's a real conversation. Some of the things that you noted, those would have been viewed as abilities in the workplace previously. Those won't exist. Right. So, that agility to be flexible, but also be able to exist on whatever landscape of whatever team you have that you need to play on in the workplace, that's very real. And I think kids who go into that with a level of self-awareness, right, and with that level of agility, they'll do well. When you think about that profile of a graduate, when you think of kids who are curious learners, who are tackling challenges, they're going to be there. And that's the state of the world. So I would take it back to that agility piece, that resilience piece, and being able to tackle adversity and understanding and having that self-awareness to keep persisting in those moments, and leaning into what your strengths are.
Any other thoughts on that?
I think for me, when I think of our high school students, we have phenomenal students. They're amazing. And I know I'm probably a little biased on that, but I think that so much of our focus oftentimes is on that academic piece and being prepared for college or the workplace based on what they're learning in the classroom, in the textbooks and on the computer and things. And I think sometimes when we think of SEL and character education, we think of our elementary students, and just as they're, growing and learning and having those first interactions with friends and things like that, that's such an important time to focus on it. And so I really like the idea of carrying this into high school and giving students opportunities to really look at where are my strengths. Many of them are going to go to job interviews where they're going to have to reflect on their strengths. They're going to have to reflect on areas of growth, and having these tools to be able to graduate and have that already ready, I think gives them a real advantage, whether they're going into the workplace or into the college or university.
Yeah, and both of you talked, you and Sarah and Rosalie, both of you talked about this idea of not just, there have been a lot of elementary character ed programs, and they have beautiful, cute cartoons, but that doesn't really translate into middle school, high school, and then beyond. The nice thing about having a K-12 program is it'd be really cool if we started to see kids a couple years from now, using this language at a Kroger when you run into them and they're talking about, I use my character strength. I mean, that is like the vision, right? To be able to see them making those choices. And I think everybody can agree, having not only the skills to those durable skills honed, but also just the sense of thinking about other people and being more mindful about who they are as individuals is really important. So as we close, I'd love to give each of you just another quick moment to say whether you would talk to students or parents or educators, what should people be looking forward to with this program as we roll out over the next couple of years? Tom, we'll start with you and we'll kind of close on this side.
I would say be looking forward to that common language, as been mentioned by many people. It's starting to come across. We've only been doing Positivity Project for a couple months in robotics, and there are several examples of students already using the common language. We talked about self-control. And there was a student that was having a side conversation as I was trying to instruct on something, and one of the kids kind of semi-yelled across the room, "Hey man, have a little self-control." And so that common language is really starting to come across even in such a short amount of time. So be excited for that common language.
Love it.
So, being relatively new in my role, I'm hearing from educators who are looking for supports and struggling with some of the changing behaviors that we're seeing with students. And so I think what I love about the Positivity Project is, and something to look forward to, is as we really start to embed this in our daily practice, it is an upstream, proactive approach. And I think a lot of times we operate in the reactive state, right? Like we're reacting to a crisis or we're reacting to a behavior. And as we really embrace this and figure out where this fits in and how we can integrate it into our daily conversation and to this book that we're reading, and look at the character strength that this character just demonstrated, right? As you start to really embrace it, it seamlessly integrates into so many aspects. And I think we'll start to really see the benefits in a proactive way. So I think that's something I look forward to.
I love that. That's great.
For me, what we've seen over time, and this is school after school that we talk to, it's the intentionality of making time for those discussions where we're really engaging and learning about our students, right? And we have that dialogue that's going on, not both student to student, not just staff to student, but it's the empowerment of students learning about themselves in the process and how that plays out, both in the little moments and the big moments. That aha moment when you ask a student about something that happened and they say, I don't think I was using great self-control. Like, no, that's okay. Let's work on that. That vocabulary starts to spill over, and it spills over school-wide, and it's something that's highly observable, but it's something that you start to feel as well. And it starts to shift those relationships. And that's the stuff that gets me incredibly excited, because the long-term effect of that over a number of years, that's where you see, students who are going out, whether it's college, the workplace, and they can exist and engage as part of those teams and be reflective, whether it's our littlest learners or our oldest, just making that intentional time. It's just so exciting, the work that everyone is doing here, the rollout that you have right now and the work you'll do in the future. So I'm very excited.
Thank you. And thank you for your partnership in this.
My pleasure.
I'm going to piggyback a little bit on what you said, Dominic, with that intentionality. I think that so many of our staff and families already really instill a lot of these character traits in our children, right? And how we instruct them and how we raise them. But this gives us some real concrete lessons and concrete vocabulary that we can use and go across all subjects, all grade levels. So I really think having that intentionality is a big piece that I'm looking forward to.
I love it. I thank all four of you for being here and just sharing. And for those of you that are watching or listening, if you're watching on the clip, we're going to put the website up here for Positivity Project. You can go ahead and check that out. There are going to be be able to access resources for families. You can access resources for educators if you're an educator. You'll be able to see all of the things, and we're opening up the hood on this. It's not something that we're trying to hide under any kind of blanket. We really want to have it all out there in the open, and it's really, really good research. It's really solid, and it's going to be something that's going to help our students be successful now and also into the future, and hopefully create a community of learners that is stronger than ever. So thank you all for watching the show, for just tuning in today. Thank you to our guests today on the show. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day and stay curious.